Okay. And I believe we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Hi, everyone. If you haven't seen me on your screen before, my name is Alexandria Banta, and today I'm filling in for Juliana Cardona Mejia. We have the pleasure of being live with Stacy Nahaisky, and she is going to share her expertise on Instagram in our session, Instagram 101 for Entrepreneurs. So, Stacy, do you want to introduce yourself and take it away?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like we planned this months ago. So I'm coming to you from New Hampshire, and I'm just in my home office here and so excited to talk about Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, or I guess, let me just, there we go. I think it's going, right? Please help me here. Can we see the presentation? Okay. Yes, okay. All right. So I'm here today to talk about Instagram. This is a beginner Instagram account, but I am assuming that you have an account already. This is Instagram 101 for entrepreneurs. And as we get going, if you have questions, please just post them wherever you are, wherever you can post your questions. I'm happy to answer them. So yes, my name is Stacy Nahaisky. It's a bit of a tricky last name. I am a social media mentor, strategist, and speaker. And I help busy business owners like yourselves learn and leverage social media. So I offer one-to-one consulting, workshops like this one and others that I run through my business, and an online membership that really serves as a support for coming up with content on a regular basis. So basically, I'm here to encourage you to embrace social you and tell more people about your business. So I invite you to connect with me at Embrace Social You on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I just love getting new connections and learning about you and your business and how I can help. So today we are talking about Instagram, and Instagram is my absolute favorite platform. And I want to share just a few things that you need to know about Instagram because I see a lot of common misconceptions. And these are just kind of the basics that I love to share before I even get started, okay? So the number one thing is that there's a ton of people on this platform. So there's 1 billion active monthly users, and that age range goes from 18 to 50, and it's still growing, right? So Instagram is still growing all the time, and there's constantly new features and stuff that we're going to talk about today that we can use to reach out to our ideal people. So this one is a big deal right here, is that we don't have to have 10,000 followers, 30,000 followers, etc., to have a solid presence on Instagram and to build and grow our business connections. So we don't have to have huge followings, and I'm an example of that, where we don't have to have a huge following to make a connection and to have a solid business, okay? So hashtags are still super important to be found on Instagram. There's some stuff happening right now with hashtags that is making it a little bit trickier because of the election. So we're not seeing recent hashtags, but I am going to show you how hashtags work and how you can use them for your business. So the magic of Instagram is in the engagement and the direct messaging. So we must go out and find our people and connect with them one-to-one. It's not like the old days where we used to post a picture and all of our followers would see it. Now there's an algorithm at play, has been for years, and we have to go out and find our ideal people because Instagram is designed to show the people who already follow you your steps. We have to figure out how to get out of that and find new people. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that today. Oops, hold on. Here we go. So why are we using Instagram for our business, right? There's lots of reasons. And number one is if our ideal client is there, then we need to go where they are. We need to go where that attention is. We want to use Instagram to build relationships. We're not collecting followers. We want to build relationships on this platform. And it's just like we do in person, but it's really magnified online. It's magnified on the app. We can connect with more people on Instagram than we can, say, if I was just sitting here, emailing or, having calls with people. I can reach more people by posting on Instagram and going out and engaging with them. We love Instagram for telling our story. And you may say, well, who wants to hear my story? It's that entrepreneurial journey, right? And people do want to hear it. So we use Instagram to tell stories. We have multiple ways throughout the app to go ahead and do that, and it's wonderful for that. We use Instagram to provide value for our audience. We want them to come back to us over and over again to see, what we're up to, what products we have, what services we have, and they're not going to keep coming back if we're not giving them anything in return. So that's that value. So when we post with tips and helpful things that are going to give them a quick win, we're providing value for the audience, and they're going to keep coming back. And of course, the last one, we're in business here, right? We want to increase our bottom line. We want to have more sales, more foot traffic, more downloads of our PDF, whatever it is that you're looking to increase. We want to do that with Instagram, and it works well for that. Okay, so before we get into our 3 strategies, we're going to talk about 3 strategies to engage our ideal people on Instagram. Before we get there, we have to talk about our profile, also called our bio, okay? So that's like the first step, is to optimize this landing page here within the app where people are making snap judgments as to whether or not they're going to follow us. Okay, so I just took a screenshot of my profile before hopping on here today. This is the behind the scenes look, how it looks when you are signed into your own account. And yours might look different depending on the type of account that you have. And let me know, let me know if you have any questions, because there are different versions of Instagram out there. They've rolled out different layouts of Instagram. For example, your bottom bar there might look a little bit different than mine. That's okay. Just let me know if you have questions. So I do want to go quickly down through our profile here. So the number one thing I'm going to recommend as a business with an Instagram account is to switch to a business profile. So having a business profile is going to allow you to have analytics, so you can see the numbers on your posts and how they're doing. It's going to let you run ads on the Instagram platform. It's going to give you, pull in the category from Facebook if you have it set up that way. Excuse me, 1 second. My throat is dry. Sorry. It's going to give you some contact information opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have if you don't have a business account. So the way that you can tell if you have a business account or not is to go to these 3 lines right here. Sorry. Go to these 3 lines right here, and you're going to go to, let me pull up my phone so I can go along with this here. You're going to go to settings and then account. And at the bottom, you're going to see an opportunity to switch to personal account or switch to business account. There's also going to be the opportunity to switch to creator account, but a creator account is really for an influencer account. It's not quite for business. So I would recommend, if you are on Instagram for business, that you choose a business account, okay? So if it says switch to personal account, then you are a business. If it says switch to business account, then you are a personal account, okay? So these are the benefits here to switching to a business profile, so I'd highly recommend doing that. Okay, now the next thing I like to talk about is our profile photo. Now, if we are solopreneurs, this should be our face, right? If we're working directly with people and connecting on that level, if we're holding a Zoom call with our people and that kind of thing, I like to have it be a clear picture of ourselves. Now, mine includes some of my brand color, which is teal. But that could be, if you are, whatever your business is, it can be reflective of who you are and what you do. It's tough when we can't recognize the person in the bubble, right? Or if you try to put like the exterior of a building or something, but we can't quite see what it is, okay? Because we want to think of this as our stamp. So whenever we are posting as our account, engaging with people on other accounts, commenting and that kind of thing, this is our stamp, and we want to make sure that it reflects ourselves and our brand. Now, if you are a brand that sells products and things like that, this can definitely be your logo. That's totally fine. Okay, let me just check over here. Let's see. Oh, somebody's asking the page name. Oh, Facebook. Okay, I think Alexandria has that covered.
That was a question for me. Don't worry about that. I'll go ahead and handle all the chat stuff.
Perfect. Sorry about that. I'm used to handling the chat there.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about the profile photo. The next is the headline. Now this is the bold line underneath our photo here. And that line is actually searchable. So that's why I have social media coach here, right? So if somebody's looking for a social media coach for social media, I can possibly come up in their results. Now, if I left this Stacy Naheisky, which I had it for the first year or two that I had Instagram, it probably won't come up in search, right? Because nobody was searching for Stacy Naheisky, especially when I was starting out. But if I put social media coach in there, or whatever your business is, you can put that in there. It's kind of the keywords, right? So if people are searching in Instagram, you might come up because of this headline. Okay, so maybe think about if you have your name here, or if you have your business name there, you already have the business name as your username, so you can go ahead and pick something that's more searchable here. Now, the reason I do have my first name here is because I want people to connect with me. So Embrace Social You doesn't tell you who I am, and I am my business. It's myself. So I want people to know that my name is Stacy. You know, I don't need the last name. It's a tricky last name anyway, but that's why I have Stacy here, and then I have social media coach. Okay. Now, the next part is super important as well. This is called our bio, and it's also called, as I said, the profile, but this part is the bio. This is what people are referencing when they're saying link in bio. The link is in the bio, right? So we've got the link at the bottom here. So the bottom section of it is the link outward from Instagram. But this part right here is our opportunity to use 150 characters, which is not that much, to tell people who we are and who we help. Okay, so this is where an I help statement fits really well. If we can kind of condense down what we do to a really impactful, you know, not even sentence. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct, but you could put here, I help X to whatever you help them to do. And that's really going to help people when they come to your profile see, is that me? Oh, I am a busy business owner. Oh, and I do want to learn social media, right? But whereas somebody comes to find me and they're not, you know, they just are on Instagram for fun, they may not follow me, and that's okay. We want to attract and also repel the right people on our Instagram account. Okay, so the next part of this, I just like to be very, very clear on what it is that I offer. So I offer coaching, workshops, and encouragement, right? That's an important value for me, encouraging my followers, my clients to put themselves out there, to try the new tools, you know, all that kind of stuff. So encouragement is a big part of my brand. So when you can include bullet points of how you help people, what you offer, what you're going to be sharing about here, it's pretty clear that I talk about social media because it's here, and it's here. But if it's not clear in your name, you can use this spot here to really describe what your account is about, so people can decide if they want to follow it. Okay. What I like to do with the last kind of line of the bio is talk about my link. So right here, this is our one link out of Instagram. So because of the way that posts work, we are not able to put an accompanying link right here and say, check out the blog post I just did. We have to direct people from this post up to that one link. Okay, so that's why I'm using a tool called Linktree, which is free. There's a paid version, of course, but I just use the free version at this point. I plan to update it, upgrade it at some point. But what it is, if you click on it, if you go to my account and you click on that link, you're going to see a really nice list of links and ways that you can connect with me, read my blog, you know, check out different workshops and things that I have going on. And what it does is it directs you a lot more easily than if I just put my main website there, right? Because if I post here about, you know, an Instagram workshop that I just did and it's, you know, available for the replay, and then I say link in bio and it's my main website and you have to then find where it is, that's tricky, right? We want to reduce the friction and make it easy for people to take that next step with us. So we use Linktree to share examples of the many different ways they can work with us, and then we just direct people to that one link. We don't have to change it all the time, and it works really, really well, and it looks really slick too. So check out my account here, check out the Linktree and see what that looks like. It's very, very easy to set up, and I would encourage you to do that. The one drawback is that it does not lead people directly to your website, right? So if you do want them to go directly to your website, you can create a page on your website that does essentially the same thing, right? So then they're going to be actually on your website. So if you are able to on your website or have your web person do that, there's definitely a benefit to that. But if you just need a quick list of links quickly, Linktree is a great tool to use for that. Okay, so wherever this link goes, these should be the next best steps with you. So if you go to my Linktree, you'll see that there's, my PDF opt-in, there's a workshop that I've just recently run, there's my blog, and there's, I'm not sure what the other one is, but they're all like that next step that I want people to take with me, okay? So really think about where you want people to go and make sure this link gets them there, okay? So, if you have any questions about this profile, let me know. Let me know, Alexandria, if there's any questions on this. I'm happy to.
Yeah, so Hina is actually asking, how do you make or use Linktree?
Okay, so Linktree, you can just type in linktr.ee, in your browser and search it, or, I don't remember if it's, I think it's linktr.ee.com, and they'll just walk you through the process of creating an account. So you are going to create an account, and then you are going to connect it to your Instagram account. And what you're going to do is just add in your links that you want, and you're going to get analytics for that. So you can, if you have a launch or something and you're sharing a sales page, you can check in there and see how many people clicked on that sales page from your Instagram bio here on that link. So you're going to get analytics, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff, but you can easily turn off links and turn them back on and reorder them and change the colors and all of that. So you're just going to go to that website and create an account.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. So, of course, on Instagram, we are going to want to create great content. And this is a stumbling block for a lot of people, myself included. We all get kind of, writer's block, or we get stuck on what picture to use and all of that. And it can be particularly tricky with Instagram because there's 6 different ways to post on Instagram. And if you include highlights, then that's 7. Okay, so I just wanted to break this down for you today. We're not going to get super into how to create that content, like what to post and that kind of stuff, because I could talk about that forever, and I have a free resource for you. So if you want that free resource, I don't know how you want to handle that. If we want to email them, or if we want to put the link in the chat. I should grab that.
Either one of those works. I can make sure to send out the link to people who signed up ahead of time for sure.
Yeah, it's actually in my Linktree too. It's the how to plan 30 days of content in 30 minutes. So that link is there in my Linktree. But if you want that as well, just send me a DM or whatever. What it talks about is my HUG framework, which is all about how to come up with what to post on Instagram. And just briefly, it's sharing content that helps your audience, that shows that you understand them, that guides to your next step to work with you, and that is sharing in your daily life. So those are the 4 letters. And like I said, I have that deeper resource that you can get at that link in my Linktree. But what I do want to talk about is all the different ways to post on Instagram. So we have our timeline, which is, I'm just going to go back here. That's this area right here. So we can post in our timelines, also called our top 9 when you're looking at a bio or a profile there. So you're going to see the last 9 photos that people posted right in their feed in the timeline. Okay, and there's a couple different words that people use for it. But that's kind of like old school Instagram, right? So it used to be the only way to post on Instagram. Then they started adding these other ways to post. So we have now stories, which are basically like Snapchat. It's like Instagram saw Snapchat and created it in its stories feature. And the thing about stories is that they disappear after 24 hours. Now you can see stories up here. If you go check out a profile, if they have a pink ring around them, then they have a new story that you haven't watched yet. Okay, so stories are created up here. You can hit this plus sign to create your stories. You can hit this plus sign to do any of these posts. Actually, that was just a recent update where you can post here, because for me, the posting plus sign is no longer down below, and let me know if that's, what yours looks like. But mine, I'm able to post from here, either to the timeline, to stories, and to the next one I'm going to talk about too. Okay, so let me go back here. So because stories disappear in 24 hours, they're kind of the less curated side of Instagram. It's sort of faster to create. We can get super fun with it. We can use stickers and all kinds of things to really jazz it up and make it a ton of fun. And they disappear in 24 hours, so there's not quite as much pressure on creating stories. They can just be kind of off the cuff and fun, behind the scenes, sharing and educating and that kind of stuff. But they do disappear after 24 hours, so that's why we have highlights. And highlights are a way to save our stories so that we can, if we put in a ton of work on creating a series of stories, educating or something like that, we can save those for a highlight so people can enjoy later. So again, going back here, these are some of my highlights. So I run workshops in the past before, this crazy year. I would do workshops in person. So I would take snapshots of, attendees and things like that. And then I would save them to my workshop reels, my workshop highlights, so that people could see that I offer that kind of thing. Okay. And then if I'm sharing tips up in stories, I can save them here because I went through the effort to share those tips. So I'm going to save them here for longer term. Okay. And then I just have client love. So sometimes I do stories when people say something nice about my programs or something like that. I'll screenshot it, put it in stories, and then I can save them so they don't disappear. So that's what highlights are. And if you're wondering, how do we get these, cute little icons here? These are simply created in canva.com, which is a tool that I love for social media graphic creation. And you can create basically anything in Canva now. They even do videos and animated social graphics and stuff. But all this is a graphic size to Instagram story size. And I believe they have templates in there now for it, but it's like a tall, skinny graphic. And then I just put an icon in the middle, and I put it as my brand color. So this is like a piece of paper or whatever. It doesn't have to be perfectly representative, but it looks cute, right? So it's just an icon put in the center, and you put that right in your stories all by itself. And then you can set it as the cover of your highlight. So now you have adorable little highlight covers, and you name the highlights here underneath them. And you can always add new ones. You can add stories to them. And then when they get kind of old, you can delete those out. So actually I have a post coming up in the next week or so, I think, talking about check your, this is your reminder to check your highlights, right? Because I looked at mine recently, and I had some from like last year where I was talking about, book me for an in-person workshop. And I'm just not doing that anymore. So we have to kind of look through these every once in a while and tune them up and make sure that they're accurately representing what we can offer now. So that's just a little hint for you. If you look in there and say, oh my gosh, I haven't checked my highlights in 64 weeks or something like that, you might want to do that. So go ahead and check your highlights when you have a chance. Okay, so keeping going here. Another way that we can post on Instagram is that we can go live. It's like Facebook Live, but it's within the Instagram app, and it disappears after 24 hours as well. So there's a couple cool things that you can do in Instagram Live. One in particular that I like to do is you go live and you can invite somebody else on. So if I wanted to go on with a client and talk about, a win that we had on social media, or I've done interviews that way before, so it's kind of like a split screen, which is neat. So I love that capability of Instagram Live. We can do that. The next one, and you can see that these have like Snapchat, like Facebook Live, like YouTube, is IGTV. So IGTV came out as long form video because within the Instagram feed, the timeline, we can only post a minute-long video. So they introduced IGTV, which is long form video up to 10 minutes, and you can link out. So it's like having your own YouTube channel right within the app where your people are already engaging. So IGTV is pretty cool for that. And one of the most recent updates is Reels, which is like TikTok. So I think these have actually been extended. I think they're longer than 30 seconds now. And you can add audio. Now I say that with a caveat because I don't have audio on my account. but I know other accounts that do have audio. So I've seen some people that this is the reason that they do switch to a creator account, because they would get that audio, which just means they can play kind of like popular songs from within the app. But if you don't have the audio, you can create your own audio and play the music and have that work for you. So I'm always curious, like, to know who has what accounts, who has the ability for audio, and who doesn't. There's workarounds for it, but from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like business accounts have the audio feature. Okay, and then the last one, which is so funny, it's guides. The guides aren't funny, but what's funny is I gave a presentation last week, and I was talking about the 6 ways to post on Instagram, and I literally opened up my phone that night, and it was like, introducing guides. So this stuff changes so often. But what guides is, and I haven't had a ton of time to play with it yet, but I have some ideas for some of my clients that have physical products, is that you can create a guide around certain products, around posts that you've done in the past, and basically create a little guide around a certain topic. So for instance, if you talk about, like if I talk about Instagram, I can have a guide that kind of sorts all my Instagram posts into one guide, which is kind of cool. So I do have plans to play with that probably after the holidays, because I've got 2 kids at home and things are crazy. But there is definite potential for that feature, and I'd love to know if anybody's using that and how you're liking it so far. So there's our 7 ways to post on Instagram. Let me know if you have questions. I am going to start talking about our 3 strategies for engaging our ideal people on Instagram. But let me know if we do have any questions coming in the chat.
I think we're good for right now. There's a couple that I intend to save for Q&A.
Okay, perfect. Oh, I do see somebody says, totally worth paying for Canva. Yes, I pay for Canva as well. I love it. You can do a ton of the free version, but I absolutely love the access to extra stock photos and the ability to do the rapid resize, which is awesome. If you're creating a graphic and you need it to fit on Pinterest and a bunch of different places, you can quickly create 5 different graphics at once and adjust them as needed. But I love that feature for sure. Okay, so we talked about the importance of optimizing our profile, right? Because if we're going out and engaging our ideal people and they're coming to check out our account, we want to make sure that we've optimized it so they know who we are, who we help. We've got some highlights out there probably. We've maybe created a guide or 2. We're posting great content, so that's what we're putting out. But once we go out and find people, we want them to be able to come back to our profile and see everything that we've got going on there and make that quick decision about whether or not they're going to follow us. So we've got that all done. We're optimized. We're posting great content. Now we need to go out and find our people. So I've got 3 strategies here for engaging our ideal people on Instagram. Okay. So number 1 strategy is using hashtags. Now, the use of hashtags has kind of changed recently due to the election. So recent hashtags, or when you search the hashtag, you used to get recent and top results, okay? But during the election and still now, they've not been showing the results of the recent posts using that hashtag, so it's a little harder to find, real-time updates and that kind of thing. But we can still research hashtags. We can still see what other people are using, and we can still use hashtags to find content that's like the content that we're putting out and that our ideal client would put out, okay? So to really start at the beginning, hashtags are simply a label or filing system for our posts. So people use them on Instagram to find new posts and accounts that they might like to follow, to connect with, and we get up to 30 per post. Now, you don't have to use all 30, but the way that I view it is that if we use, 28 to 30, we are going to be maximizing our reach and chances that people are going to find us through hashtags, okay? But I want to stress that we can research our hashtags, come up with hashtag blocks like this, but we want to make sure to change them up. So I'm going to be talking next about how to research your hashtags. So what I see people do oftentimes is if they're going to post on the fly, then they're going to just kind of throw out some ideas that they think might be good hashtags. Okay, so for instance, with Thanksgiving coming, you might use Thanksgiving or turkey or, you know, potatoes or something like that. And as you might think, that hashtag is probably used quite a bit. So Thanksgiving could have been Thanksgiving 10 years ago, could have been Thanksgiving, you know, in Canada, right? Could have been anything. So what we want to do is really kind of drill down a little bit and use hashtags that are not quite so general. So when we're looking up hashtags, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Instagram and click on magnifying glass, and up at the top, we're going to see a search bar, and so we can type in what we want to put here. So actually, I'm going to use the example of social media, okay? So for me, I'm a social media mentor, strategist, whatever you want to call me, but if I use the hashtag social media, that's very, very broad, okay? So at the top here, we're seeing top accounts and tags. So if we tap on tags, we're going to see 21.4 million posts associated with social media. So if I use that hashtag, my post is going to drop to the bottom because it's so often used. So if we look down to the next one, for me what's showing up is social media coach, which has 350,000 posts associated with it. So that is actually within this sweet spot right here. So it's more tailored to who I am and what I do. So, and the next one here says social media marketing, which is 12.7 million posts associated with it. It's going to a lot of people do what I do, right? So we want to kind of think about our hashtags that we're using to attract people that are actually going to see it. So people are going to be more likely to see the social media coach hashtag because it doesn't have as many photos associated with it. And let me just look at Thanksgiving just because I want to follow that one through. So Thanksgiving has 19.3 million, but Thanksgiving 2020 has 122,000. So that's a smaller hashtag because it's more targeted to Thanksgiving this year, not last year or the year before. Okay, so I'm trying to give you an example of how we don't want to use the hashtag let's love or I can't even think. I wish I knew what some of the businesses were that are on here because we could talk about that specifically. But really being intentional about the hashtags that we're using and not just kind of willy-nilly throwing them up when we're posting, but actually taking some time and doing some research. So to help you with that, I gave you some guidelines here. So when you're thinking about hashtags to use for your posts, think about first 10 hashtags that your client might use. So again, for myself, I work with mostly female entrepreneurs. And so it would be like work at home mom or business or women in business, something like that, because they're hashtags that they might actually use. So that's a good one to use to attract that kind of person who's checking out other women-owned businesses and that kind of thing. 10 that describe your business. So social media coach would be one for me. I'm also a businesswoman, you know, female entrepreneur, all that kind of stuff applies here. And you'll find that when you start doing some research here, they're gonna give you recommendations for other tags to use. So really doing that research is a great idea here. Okay. So 10 hashtags your client might use, 10 that describe your business, 5 each in 2 or more specialty areas. So for instance, I like to use the fitness and nutrition example here. So if somebody is a fitness expert, they're going to have some pictures where they're talking about lifting weights, some pictures where they're talking about eating clean, right? They may want to research 5 hashtags about weightlifting, the style of weightlifting that they do, and 5 hashtags that talk about the style of food that they eat, right? Because when they're posting the weightlifting, they're not going to put the clean eating tags on it. So we're just really thinking about what we're posting and how we're using the hashtag, okay? A couple of other tips here. Post them in your comments, not in a caption, okay? They will work the same in both places, but if we're researching a hashtag block and sticking it in the comments, it's going to give us that space between our beautiful caption that we've written and the hashtag block, okay? So it kind of like hides it. So a tip here is to use your Notes app on your phone to keep those blocks of hashtags as you're researching them, or oops, why is it covering it? And we can also follow hashtags in order to find content by people that we want to connect with. Okay, so we could follow clean eating or follow whatever weightlifting strategy they're following. Okay. Strategy number 2 is authentic interaction, which sounds not like a strategy at all, but I will explain that. Let's take a drink here real quick. So authentic interaction is just engagement on Instagram. So engagement is the highest currency on Instagram, meaning we're all looking for likes, comments, shares, and saves on our posts. And posts that have that engagement, are shown to more people in the feed. Okay, so I just did a screenshot here of comments that went back and forth. They call this a threaded comment because Insights Gal commented, I replied, and she commented again. So it's just that back and forth conversation that happens in real life, but it's shown here on Instagram. Okay, I just wanted to share an example to this. This chat right here happened because I replied to an Instagram story, and it was just a dog, and he was sticking his nose out the sunroof, and it was like a sunny day, and I said, oh, I'm so happy the sun's out today, you know, some silly comment. And she wrote back, and what ended up happening was a conversation back and forth that she was just 15 minutes away from me, and she was looking to learn about social media. So we got talking about it, and then eventually it came down to, what's your email? I'll send you some links. Oh, and do you want to be on my email list? Yes, please. So she was excited to join my email list, and it all started because I was just having a conversation with her. Okay, so that kind of conversation just starts organically, but it can turn into business down the road. Every conversation won't, but sometimes, you know, the magic happens when you're actually having conversations with people because it's social media. Okay. So some tips for this is don't post and run. You know, stay for that conversation. Ask questions in your post and answer the questions of other people, right? How many times have we seen a post or made a post ourselves and nobody answers it, and you're just like, oh, I guess that didn't land, right? But if you can be that person to reply, it stands out, right? So you are the one that's taking the time to leave a comment more than just, I like your shirt, or great point, you know, something like that. You can say, wow, I really like how you blah, 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 how you explained this, you know, something like that that has a little bit more oomph to it. So asking questions and answering questions are important. You'll see me do that on my posts a lot. I'll always end with a question. It's that call to action, right? It doesn't have to be buy my thing, but more like, tell me what you think. I want to know what you guys are thinking. What's your preference? That kind of thing. That's how we get people talking. We also want to make sure that we're replying to every comment. We're offering insight, becoming a source for inspiration, and then taking it to the direct message. You know, leading with service here. We're not selling right away. We're not messaging and saying, check out my thing, right? We're just thanking them for following us, maybe, you know, writing a nice comment like that in the messenger. Okay. Our third strategy is to use the newest features now. So remember, we had our list of all the places that we can post on Instagram. The thing about Instagram, how it works when it's releasing features, is that it will give priority to whoever is using these newer features. So our most recent features are the guides and reels, and then IGTV, and then live and Instagram stories. It's kind of the backwards order that it goes. So if you are on guides, if you're on reels right now, reels are a big deal. And I used this screenshot from the Instagram blog because this is the real estate that Reels is using right now, or taking up right now on the Explore tab. And I just want to actually check that and see if that's true still. Because what that's showing is that it's a big deal to them, right? And actually, me right now, I'm just seeing Reels upper right-hand corner, and then a larger one down in the left-hand corner. So it looks like maybe it's not quite this big anymore. And let me know if that's not what you're seeing. But it's still very important to them. And you are going to notice if you start creating Reels that you're going to have more eyeballs on that than you would on a regular video in your feed. And that just depends on your business. If you have, you know, kind of Reels type content that you want to share, if you are into doing the dancing thing, you don't have to dance if you don't want to. But just know if you feel like getting creative, if you want to share short videos and add some text to it and music and that kind of stuff, that is going to get eyeballs on your stuff right now because it is brand new. Okay, so utilizing these newer areas of Instagram are going to get more eyeballs on your stuff. Okay, so the really cool thing about Reels, I've done a few, you can really show your personality and you can educate in Reels. So like I said, you don't have to do dancing. You can give like free tips or something like that. IGTV is Instagram's answer to YouTube on a platform where people already are. I already said that before. But it's important to mention it again that if you want to do longer form content and you have it on YouTube, you can also put it on IGTV to really get your, reach your audience, okay? Stories are harder to create and they're a lot of fun to consume. So these new areas of the app they just make for a richer experience. So I would highly recommend that you're using these, okay? So the tip for these new areas is just to have fun and be you, embrace social you, right? Show up as yourself, face the camera, as you are. There are filters if we don't want to put on makeup, that's fine. I have one in particular that I use on my stories quite a bit because it's a really nice soft tone and it brings out my blue eyes and the teal behind me. So I like to use that filter. So we can have a lot of fun with stories and with all these other newer pieces of the app. So basically what we're trying to do with stories and with Reels is to let people in behind the scenes, make it a little bit less polished and more fun. Okay. So this tip is really for stories, which is create a start, a middle, and an end. So if you are posting one story, that's fine. But if you can open up the frame with a beginning and have a middle and have an end, that's really going to be effective for telling a story, right? I've seen stories before where somebody just posts one and they never tell us what happened, and I'm wondering, well, how did that end? So we don't want to leave people hanging. So I love to create a start, middle, and end to our stories here. And of course, saving our best stories for our highlights. Using stories, IGTV, and Reels to lead people to the DM, and then working to convert these conversations in a non-sleazy kind of way, right? So those are my tips for using those, the newest features. Those are my 3 strategies: using hashtags on Instagram, really diving into authentic interaction, taking time to respond to every content, every comment, and really just have conversations, keep it social, right? And then the last one was to use the newest features now. Okay, so that's what I had today for my presentation. I talk about all this stuff at Embrace Social You. Instagram is my favorite platform. I'd love for you to follow me over there. DM me with any questions. And if you don't get the PDF that's, plan 30 days of content in 30 minutes, I'd love to have you DM me. I'll send it to you there as well. But I'd love to connect with you. So come find me on Instagram. And now we'll go to questions.
Sorry, I was muted just now. Okay, Stacy, I want to say thank you so much for that presentation. That was incredibly informative. If it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and add everybody to the stream so that they can ask their questions. And as I'm doing that, we can go ahead and get started with a few questions that were asked either anonymously on Facebook or that were asked kind of in a weird place during the actual presentation. So you guys go ahead and brainstorm the questions that are most relevant to you and your business, and I'll go ahead and get caught up on these. So Tika asked, I sell goods. Should I link to my Shopify site or my Instagram shop? And this was specifically about Linktree.
Oh, this is about Linktree. Okay, can you put it back up there? I just want to see this. Okay, yeah. Should I link to Shopify site or my Instagram shop? Okay, so within your post on Instagram, you can tag your product. So I would do that. So if you're talking about a specific product, I would tag it within the post. And they can access the Instagram shop from your app, when they come onto your platform, your profile rather. So I wouldn't worry about linking away to your Instagram shop. So I would go to your Shopify site from Linktree.
Awesome. Some great advice. Thank you. There were a couple other than that. I know Julie had a question. So Julie, maybe you could read the comment you posted. Would that be okay? Oh, let's see, Julie. I think you're muted at the moment.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
So the brief one is I've been trying to up level my account this past year, and so I'm learning more about it, but it's frustrating because I do very intentional content for my niche market, and the posts that get the most engagement are like, I mean, I've gone back, and done the analytics. It's like the rare dumb picture of my cat, or like me on my birthday when they brought me, the ice cream with happy birthday painted in powdered sugar. And like those shoot out of the gate, and all this stuff that I spend all this time, and it's real stuff, like for my clients, pain points are just like, and so I've just kind of given up at times because I don't know if it's better if that helps elevate the profile to give people creates more engagement and eventually reaches that person, or should I just stay the course and keep producing intentional content for my niche?
Yeah. So there's a couple of variables here. So what they're doing is they're showing you what they're interested in engaging with. So you may be able to kind of lead with a cat photo, but have like a caption that's, the kind of deeper conversation that you're looking for. So we can kind of try to mold the content a little bit more towards the visual aspect of what catches their attention, right? But then, still work in that good, solid content. That's fine too. But also, as you said, these other posts that you do that are fun and personalized and all that kind of stuff, they do elevate the other content. So it kind of primes the pump, I guess you could say, for them to see the other stuff. So if you know that they're going to engage with that kind of content, you can create that more often, and still peppering in these other posts that you like to put out, because that's also important. We want them to be able to see both of them. But if you don't have that kind of spicy stuff in there, sometimes it may make it so that your other stuff is not seen so much. So you might also want to consider doing some more market research and asking your people if they're more apt to connect with you on a different platform, right? If you're finding that some of your posts aren't landing, maybe your people would respond better on Facebook. So if you haven't done that kind of research, it's okay if they're not always, if every post isn't knocked out of the park, so just kind of paying attention to what is landing is important, but just also know that you can put in those kind of spicy posts every once in a while, and it's still worthwhile. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. I'm just trying to figure out how much I want to invest in Instagram versus LinkedIn. Because I do English language teaching, but I work with higher level professionals and a lot of like C-suite people. And there's this whole world on Instagram of like sexy young English teacher who barely has any, experience, but, I'm kind of showing some skin, and I'm really trying to differentiate from that. So it's gross. And so that's why when the personal stuff takes off, it's kind of disturbing to me. It's like, I'm a professional and this is my brand,
Yeah. So that tells me a little bit more that I would maybe lean a little bit more to LinkedIn if it is not the vibe they're going for, because absolutely, there are other social media people that are definitely showing some skin, and that's not my MO. And you do not have to be that to be successful in business. You can definitely take that over to LinkedIn and have your post there and really invest time in learning that platform, and maybe using articles and that kind of thing over there, and doing the outreach on LinkedIn as well with other higher level, what's the word? Higher education. Yeah.
Thank you.
Question?
You're welcome.
Okay, I think Julie had her question answered. Fingers crossed. Awesome. So we had a couple questions from Nina, who I think, unfortunately, Nina is having technical difficulties, but I'll ask her questions. Number one was, what is the best free way to take pics and videos optimized for Instagram? And I'm assuming that means with the right dimensions. You can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong.
Okay. I'm sorry. Did it say to take pictures?
Yes, she said to take pictures and videos optimized for Instagram.
Okay. Well, I only ever use my iPhone. There are some tricks to get better quality, I'm not really sure how to explain that. If you don't have an iPhone, I just want to say, you know, you don't have to have a special phone or anything like that. You can use whatever it is that you have, and then you are able to, you know, add filters if you want to make it brighter, you know, that kind of stuff. You can pull them into Canva and enhance them with text, things like that. I use stock photos from within Canva, not all the time, but when I need a picture of a, you know, cup of tea or something like that, I will go to Canva and use that. I also use unsplash.com. But I am not a photographer. I don't pretend to be, and I just use my iPhone to just take pictures and just kind of mess with the filters and such if I need to.
Yeah, so she clarified that she means dimension. So, are there any tricks you use when you're taking pictures to make sure that they'll look good, or?
Not really. I just try to, my best tip would be to take like 12, right? So if you've got it set up and you know that you want to use the picture at some point, you might want to use it again next year, but like a different angle or something. Or if you take horizontal and vertical versions, then you can crop them to square. So I still crop to square quite often for Instagram, not every time, but it personally bothers me when I look at the feed and like part of it's cut off because I left it as a vertical image. So you can post vertical images to Instagram and horizontal, but just know that in the feed, in sort of like that top 9 grid view, it can still be chopped out. Okay, so I guess ideally I would say 1080 by 1080 pixels for Instagram, which is a square, and that is what they give you in Canva to use when you create an Instagram picture or graphic. So that would probably be ideal. That's not to say we can't post the vertical and horizontal, but I would say ideally it would be square 1080 by 1080 for the feed.
Got it. Thank you so much. And I have one final question from Nina before we move on into our quote unquote free for all. You said to respond to every comment. What about critical or negative comments?
Yeah. So I manage accounts for local companies and for entrepreneurs that, you know, help people everywhere. And so many people do get negative comments, or people are just being grumpy, especially over the last year. We've had a lot of comments that are just not helpful in any way. But my approach to the negativity and that kind of stuff is really to deal with it front and center, not to turn off comments, not to hide from it, but to really address it and say, you know, I'm so sorry that you feel that way, or, you know, however it is that you would address it. Think about if they called you and said something, like how would you talk to them about it, right? Because what people are watching, and if they can see that you are handling something in a transparent manner and, you know, honoring their opinion and really speaking to them as you would in person, and then offering to take it offline, right? So if they're upset about something that happened in a transaction or something, you can apologize and then say, let's have this conversation over email, or, you know, I'm happy to hop on a call, just basic customer service. So if somebody's just being negative, you can, you know, just, again, be transparent about it and don't start a fight is kind of what I would say.
Awesome. Very helpful. So I think with that, I want to go on and let the people who are currently in the studio ask their personal questions about their business. I know we've already heard a great one from Julie. I would love to hear from Ruth, and Walter is also with us in the studio. I don't think the camera is turned on, so if you wouldn't mind to turn on your camera, that would make it a whole lot more interactive. In the meantime, Ruth, do you have any burning questions about your business?
I do. So I personally also absolutely love Instagram. Started my business and got started with Instagram years ago. And I'm a product-based business. So when I was super tiny and had, you know, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 orders a week, super easy to connect on that one-on-one level you were talking about. Yeah. But at this point, like it's Black Friday week. We're probably going to ship out hundreds of orders, you know. How do you keep that conversation going on a personal level when you've got literally thousands of customers and thousands of followers? Like, how do you keep that engagement and that energy up without making it a full-time job?
Yeah, so this is where it may be time to grow your team, and I know you don't want to hear that, but a lot of this comes down to bandwidth, and I see social media people saying, like, post twice a day and make sure that you're, commenting, reaching out to 35 people, and that's all well and good, but if you are, packing these orders and sending this stuff out, that's not realistic. So
Right.
you can let that go and, speak to people. I see a lot of product-based businesses that are very person to person. They have great relationships, and they will do a post that says, I so appreciate all of your comments. I can't reply right now, but after the holidays, I will, and people will appreciate that when you call that out and speak to them like they're actual people.
Right.
Because if you have hundreds, thousands of followers, they are actual people that are wanting to be seen and heard. So if you can tag them, answer them, or even just call it out overall and say, wow, I so appreciate all of your orders. I can't get back to every single one of you right now. Absolutely just have that conversation and put that out there. So you can, maybe hire on a VA to help you with that kind of thing. Or if you're in the thick of it already, so that probably doesn't sound like something you want to do right now. Maybe plan ahead for next holiday season and say, wow, I'm going to be having tons of comments, so maybe I can have somebody to help me out for a couple of hours, a week or so for that engagement.
Right.
That's a great point. Julie, did you want to read your comment, or should I?
So I've found that a lot of times if you're looking for a marketing intern, this is their sweet spot. And she did all the research, that everything that Stacy just did, I just assigned that to her. I was like, I don't have time to investigate and research all these changes. Like, I need you to research what the features are, which ones bring the most engagement, and then create content with it. So she just went off to the races with it and then just ran some of the content by me. And as I saw that she was kind of understanding the brand and the vibe, I just gave her full control, and it was great. So I've been totally MIA since she left on Instagram. I barely keep up with it now, but I'm trying to get another one, and that's the task number one I'm going to give to the next person.
Yeah. Yep. So we can utilize interns. We can utilize virtual assistants to help us with that. This is something that social media managers do as part of the whole package of creating the content and that kind of stuff. So it just depends on your bandwidth. It depends on your budget. And all of that, it can be done. But again, if your bandwidth is not there, you can say, I'm going to get back to you, later, and people will understand that too. And that's a great problem to have, by the way.
So I would like to hear from Walter a little bit. Walter, I know that you have a lot of content creation in your business. Would you like to ask any of your burning questions?
Sure. So I'm planning on kind of launching our social media strategy at the beginning of the year. One is bandwidth, two is budget. I know my market is it's on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. I deal with a lot of parents and students. So, and I've used a social media manager in the past with previous businesses, so I know the value of it, because I definitely don't have the bandwidth, nor do I want to deal with social media at all. They're just kind of not my wheelhouse, but I do understand the value of it. What would you say is the best, best way to kind of evaluate a social media manager or a virtual assistant? Because one of the words that someone uses, I think that the last person used the word vibe. I remember the last one I hired. I think there was just a huge cultural competency that she didn't have, that I was looking for, and so I'm just I know I will be evaluating and hiring one in the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the most important parts of it are determining on your end how much you want to be involved, right? Because you can outsource. Okay, there you go. I have clients who don't want to be involved at all. So we take it and we run with it and create the graphics to the copy to the the whole strategy and everything. And then there are others who do want to inform the conversation and be a part of it. So if you want to hand off the whole shebang you're going to want to make sure that you're hiring somebody who really is well-rounded and can handle writing copy that's going to land. They're going to be able to be good at graphics, creating graphics with something like Canva, or Photoshop if they use Photoshop, or there's a couple of other apps that you can use as well. So really making sure that they are good at all the different areas that they can take it and run with it, because there's nothing worse than handing something off to somebody and then there's typos, there's, the language barrier possibly, and the graphics are not on brand, so really vetting somebody out to make sure that they can handle the entire package, I think, is important. That would be probably more of a social media manager than, a virtual assistant. So a virtual assistant would be like, I've written the copy, here's where it needs to be scheduled, and they can put the, the details into the scheduler and that kind of stuff, unless they are, unless they do the copy as well. So really just paying attention to the various parts of social media, and making sure that they can give you examples of past posts that they've created and that kind of thing too.
Okay.
Is that helpful? And if you list out, if you have particular schedulers that you like them to use, really giving them the list and saying to use this, and this, so that they know what's expected of them as well.
Awesome. Thank you for your question, Walter. I'd like to jump to an anonymous question on Facebook. And the question is, how often should I post?
Oh, this is my favorite answer. It depends. It really does depend on, all those things we just talked about, your bandwidth, whether you're doing it or somebody else is doing it, what your objectives are a huge thing, right? So for me, I like to recommend, if somebody's just getting started and their block is really consistency, right? It's been 3 weeks since they've posted. I want them to start with, 4 times per week. And that is a post that helps your people, a post that shows that you understand, a post that guides to their next step, and a post that shares what you're doing today, right? So that's 4 posts for that week, and it's easy to kind of create that and have that be a thing. So that's like the starting point. It's like 4 times per week. And I actually still post about that, because on my account specifically, I find that if I leave a day in between my posts, it gives my post time to get the comment and interaction. Whereas if I kept posting, it would actually have my posts competing against each other. So that's what works on my account. It really depends on the account that you have. If your goal is to grow to, several thousand followers, you're going to want to post 2 times a day, right? So it really depends on what your goal is for the platform.
Got it. Thank you. I hope that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say one more thing. So the beauty of Instagram stories is that if you are posting on Instagram stories daily, right, which is just like, here's my coffee in the morning, I'm sitting down at my computer, here's what I'm making. Or if you have a product, you can share that you're shipping out, 37 boxes today. Thank you for your orders. Something like that in stories, which feels to me more manageable, right? Because it's not like a perfectly curated photo in the feed. You can get by with posting less in the timeline, in the feed there. So if you're more often in stories, then you don't have to post so much in the feed, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. It's about balance, is what you're saying.
It's about balance. It's about bandwidth. It's about your audience and what they react to. So you could test it and say, for 2 weeks, I'm going to post 4 times a week and see what happens. For 2 weeks after that, I'm going to post daily and see what happens, right? It really depends on your business and your goals for Instagram.
Got it. So, and y'all are all welcome to jump in at any time and interrupt whatever questions you may have. I'll pull another one from Facebook. Does it reflect badly on your brand if you have more following than followers?
So I think that comes from influencer marketing, right? So if your goal is to have thousands and thousands of followers so that you can get brand deals and that kind of thing, then yes, you want to be following less people than are following you. I don't see it as a huge issue when it comes to business. However, it does make it hard for you to enjoy Instagram if you're following a ton of people. So I take, probably every month or so, I kind of look at who I'm following and unfollow the ones that I've least interacted with least. And we can actually see that information from the app. So if you go to Instagram and you tap on who you're following, you're going to see at the top the people you've least interacted with, and then most shown in feed. So if you click on interacted with, you'll see that, and I do this once in a while, you can see that some of these people haven't posted since like 2017, so you can unfollow them, right? Or you can go in and say, oh, that's when I was following all those, crafting companies because I thought I wanted to help crafting companies. For whatever reason it was that you followed a bunch of kinds of a bunch of different accounts, and you can go in and unfollow them. So it doesn't necessarily reflect poorly. It's just, you may want to keep it cleaned up. Okay.
Got it. So I remember you mentioning something in the middle of your presentation where you were hoping that you could learn or hear a little bit about what our attendees' businesses are, so that you might be able to mention a few hashtags. So, Julie, do you have any thoughts on that? Would you like to hear from Stacy?
Sure, why not?
So maybe you could start off with a little bit about what you do. I know about the English teacher aspect, but maybe you could elaborate.
So I do English language teaching and coaching, and it's focused on upper intermediate to advanced learners. And so I've been using the hashtag professional English a lot. I was happy because I did do the notes in my phone with the hashtags earlier this summer as part of the interns' research. So I have we actually categorize them. So if I'm advertising a free speaking fluency workshop, we have a set of hashtags for that. I don't know if this is best practice or not. If I'm advertising, and then I have 4 that I use with every single post to hopefully be more, consistent. And then if it's writing, we have a subset of hashtags that we used focused on writing. But in general, we played around a lot with finding the top 3 that we thought would be most reflective of the clientele, because there's sort of like general English. It's a pretty wide field. And in addition to that, the entire industry went online over the summer. I was already working online and I was kind of ahead of the game, and I had been trying to build out groups, but we're getting crushed by all of these branded global franchise schools that are spending a lot of money on all their social media platforms and Google ads. And so I sort of have all these competitors who weren't really competitors before. So I am particularly interested in the hashtags, because that's similar to my question before. Do I go for the low hanging fruit, or do I, use the hashtags to really try to get at, I'm a little unclear still if Instagram is the platform for my business.
Well, I would definitely look at those competitors, because they have probably done the research as well. So kind of look at what they're using for hashtags. And also their followers are your followers, like they're a parallel audience. So if you can start, kind of having conversations on their pages, or actually clicking into their followers list and seeing anybody there that you can, comment on their posts, that is a way to bring awareness to your account. And you're doing the research by just kind of, seeing what these larger accounts are doing and, making connections with their followers. Does that
Awesome.
make sense?
Yeah. Piggyback on the people who have the money to just.
Yeah, they've done the research. They've attracted people who spent the money on the ads, that kind of stuff. So it's just research, and it's finding out, they're following them, and see what their comments are. If they have questions, you can answer them. If they have questions, you can create a post that answers that, So there's some good research that you can kind of glean from what they've already done, and, connect with their people.
I'm just still trying to figure out if it's the best use of my time because free English class online, free English is like the top performing search term in Google right now. And Instagram, I suspect Instagram for my industry has become a place for people where people just expect free content. And I'm super unclear if some of the most popular teachers have a business plan or if it's actually, conversions. I suspect not all of them do because what I've noticed recently is a lot of the top performers are suddenly like, oh, and by the way, I'm available for private lessons. And I already have a robust schedule of private lessons. So it's sort of like, it's interesting. I want to keep it up. I know it's a very used platform. I'm just trying to figure out for my purposes how much like time to invest in it. And if the people I end up engaging with are actually going to come along with me.
Well, and that's where you can say, I'm only going to do this for 15 minutes a day or something like that.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Try it out consistently for a couple weeks or a month or something and kind of track what you're doing and see if it leads to additional followers and that kind of thing. Because, if they are following these bigger companies and that kind of stuff, they may be interested in finding somebody that is a little bit more approachable, so it's a better fit to go ahead with you. So that would be something I would say, commit to like 15 minutes a day of going into their followers and just seeing who's following, because you can check their account too. And if there's a particular, I don't know if there's a particular kind of like a job or, professional level of the folks that would work with you, because you could search hashtags that have to do with that job, and find people that, if it's higher education or whatever it is, you might be able to find some new connections there.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome, Julie. Thank you so much for sharing. I'd like to mention real quick if anyone else in the studio has any questions, send a message and I can add you right back. But it looks like we might be coming up on the end. So I wanted to display a question that Ruth asked earlier. She said, "Is there any way to tweak the content plan you mentioned earlier for a product-based business?"
So I think that's referencing the HUG framework.
Yeah, and I can add the PowerPoint back if you'd like to look at it.
Oh, that's okay. I kind of just shared that. I didn't really have that on the slide. Yeah, and so I feel like every company is able to share posts that are helpful to show that they understand their their customers, and sharing the process and then guiding people to products. So I think that it's highly relevant for a product-based business. If you're stuck on okay, well, how do I help people? It would depend on your business, but I'm working with a subscription box company right now, and we're working on some content that talks about helpful hints around self-care and the products that are in the box. What ingredients make them a candidate for being in the box. They go with organic, but why organic, and why this kind of oil versus that kind of oil. So it's educating, it's helping the customer, but it's not like a hard sell. So every post for the product does not need to be buy this, buy this, buy this. It's really providing value and educating and that kind of stuff. So a way that you can show that you understand your people is that you would say, for instance, it's a subscription box that's for the chronically ill or recovering from, some sort of something. So they're in need of rest and self-care, as I said. So we're really speaking to, we know that the holidays are a busy time. Here's how you can relax. Run yourself a bath, something like that. So really conveying to your customer that you understand where they're at. That's kind of an extreme situation where we know the feelings and such of a particular group. So it's a niche product. I'd love to know what product exactly you mean. Did you say she had signed off?
Yeah, I think Julie had to hop off for a client.
Oh, wasn't it Ruth that asked?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, Ruth said she had mom problems, which is completely understandable, of course.
Yes. Do you know what the business is, Mouse Loves Pigs?
Yeah, so Ruth has a company that Ruth is back now. Maybe Ruth would like to explain for herself.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm going to add you to the stream, and you're welcome to talk about yourself a little bit.
Hey, sorry about that. Yes, mom problems because it's nearly dinner time and I have 2 little boys. So I had to make, yeah. It's the glory of working from home, right?
Yeah.
So we make toys. We make screen-free, open-ended toys for kids to encourage independent, imaginative play.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so you just told me that you have 2 boys.
Yes.
So,
but we have a strict no sharing of their images or names on social media for our family. So
yeah, that makes sense. So, but you can talk about having children, right?
all the time.
Yeah. So, and let me clarify, when you were asking about like the content plan, were you talking about the HUGS framework, the content that helps understand, guide, share? Is that what you were talking about?
I think that was someone else with that question.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay. I was thinking it was you. I'm sorry.
So maybe.
So
but I would love to know how to use that use that better. Yeah.
You said screen free. I went, oh my God, because my boys they're 6 and 10 and they're loving too much the screen time. And so when mommy's on screens for work, you know, I'm on my computer, I'm on my phone, and I have to be because all of this has happened and I still need to run my business from home. So trying to explain to them, you know, that just because mommy's on her phone doesn't mean you get your Kindle, right? So that is a struggle that all of us moms are just, you know, trying to deal with day to day. So if you want to share helping content, it could be around, you know, how do I incorporate this screen-free play? How much time, you know, should I set aside for that? Do I have to be sitting with them? You know, what age range are we talking here? How do I'm sorry, I'm just like reading off all these things I'm currently struggling with, right? Because I'm your ideal client, right? So I'm a mom who has 2 kids who doesn't want to have them in front of a screen all the time, but I feel forced to much of the time in order to get my work done. So giving tips and such that, yes, they show your toys in good light because they are the solution, but it's also giving them a quick win and telling them that you understand that, you know, sometimes they are going to be on screen, but if you want solutions to that, you know, we have this right here, which, you know, our son or our kiddo, whatever you would feel comfortable saying, spent 3 hours, you know, or 1 hour, whatever it is, focused on, right? So I played memory as an example with my kiddo the other night, and he had just been asking for like the iPad all the time. And so I said, we need to like break that pattern. So we took out memory and we took out like a kid's Scrabble game and that kind of stuff. We just did like one after the other, and then we went to bed versus like him being on the screen, you know? So like sharing stories like that from your life or from a customer's life, and putting yourself into the story, putting your customers into the story is really going to help them to connect. And that gives you, you know, years of content, right? Because we are just living through this right now and we need a solution. And it sounds like your toys are the solution, and Christmas is coming up. So there's a ton of content there that you can share that shows that you understand, right? You can take a picture of your floor covered in toys, right? Because you want them to stay, you know, engaged with the toys. So that means you don't have to pick it up every night. You know, if they're going to sit down with it tomorrow, leave it out, right? Something like that is a real moment. So Mama, you don't have to feel guilty for, you know, the Legos all over the floor. You'll pick them up this weekend. Get your work done. You know, something like that.
Right.
Is how you really can connect with people. Now I just want to go check out your account, so I will do that once we're done too.
That brings up a good point. Actually, one of our attendees suggested that we have people's handles in the chat or in the comments. So if you all would like to share those, I think that would be awesome. That we can all go follow each other. So yeah, thank you so much for your insights with Ruth, Stacey. I want to close out with a couple of questions. I realized I made a mistake earlier when I was talking about Tika's question. I thought he was talking about a link tree, but he was actually talking about having a single link in his Instagram.
Yep.
And he was wondering if that should link to Spotify, or not Spotify, sorry, Shopify, as opposed to Instagram Shop.
Yeah, I would say Shopify, Tika, because as I was saying before, if they go to your account, and I'm just go to one of the shop here, they can click on that shopping bag and they can see your shop there. They don't need to essentially leave the app. They could stay right within the app and see the products within the shop. Okay, so I would definitely see your Shopify store.
Got it. Thank you so much. And I hope that answered your question, Tika. We also had this will be our last question of the day. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Yael is joining us from Facebook, and she was asking about hashtags. So Yael is a resilience life coach, and some of her hashtags include personal development, life coach, and goal setting. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on those, or any thoughts you might have?
Yeah, can you tell me again what kind of coach she is?
Yes, she's a resilience life coach.
Yes, okay. And now can you put the hashtags back?
Absolutely.
So personal development, life coach, and goal setting. Yes, so I would type in here, just to see here, personal development is showing, so that's showing 6 million posts. So that is a pretty broad thing. Now I think you're probably thinking of it like, somebody who's looking for personal development, but you may want to think about it a little bit more inspirational, right? So they may not be searching personal development. They may be searching something like constant improvement, or I can't think off the top of my head, but thinking about how they want to feel, like their aspirations, right? Like mindset matters, or create success, or something like that, where they want to develop themselves, but they're probably not putting it in that word. So personal development, I think, might be just a little bit too kind of like clinical, right? Maybe not clinical, but technical maybe. So just thinking about what they would actually use if they're searching for inspiration. So it might be something more like those kind of emotional feelings than personal development. When it comes to life coach, now if you're using life coach, that's another one. I think it's going to be, so life coach is 9 million, life coaching is 3 million, life coaching for women is 225,000. So if you work primarily with women, I don't know if you do, that might be one that you want to use. Life coach for women is 436. Life coaching tips is 206. So I think those are kind of a closer fit than life coach, okay? Because it's more drilled down to who it is that you're looking to help, okay? And if you click into, let's say, life coaching for women, it's going to return, again, we're not going to have the recent posts, but if you click into some posts here, you can kind of see what other people are using and get some inspiration, okay? So let's see, like growth mindset might be a good one. And I'd probably have to, research these other ones, but that's a great way to kind of see what other people are using and get some inspiration for what else to search for. Let's see, goal getters, dreamers and doers might be good. That kind of thing, which is more of like an emotional mindset than I'm going to search for personal development, so it might be something that would work better. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so I think that rounds us off pretty well. Stacy, I just want to say thank you so much. I really love your approach to social media in terms of being genuine and sincere, because I feel like sometimes there's this notion that, social media has to be fake and it can't be real, but I really love the approach that you bring, which is embracing the social aspect and being completely real with your followers. I think that is a much needed approach, especially today. So yeah, absolutely. We had to have a bunch of people sign off early, but that's perfectly okay. We have a few people who say thank you. I certainly thought your presentation was very insightful. I want to say and also Ruth says thank you. I want to say to everyone who is watching, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been our final workshop of 2020, which is very exciting. If you would like to view a recording of this video, please go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Street Entrepreneurs, and it will be under the videos tab. Stacy, any final remarks or thoughts?
I don't think so. I just would love to meet all of you over on Instagram. So send me a DM. Let me know that you were here. I'd love to connect with you, check out your account. Yeah, I'd love to connect with you. That'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stacy, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. I will make sure to get those materials out to everyone. Thank you again, and have a good night. This was such a pleasure.
It was wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. The pleasure was all ours. Bye.
All right. Bye.